Let's review the cosmic double dots, also known as the dot dot or the colon. From our movie, Cosmic Double Dots, you'll remember our main character, Mr. Ogu. Mr. Ogu is from outer space. When I confronted Mr. Ogu in the first video, I asked him, why did you come to our planet? He said, I love DQ. Remember that. That will help you remember the cosmic double dots because it's a mnemonic. Capitalized first letter L, D, and Q will remind you of what the cosmic double dot stands for: a list, a description, and a quote. Another thing to keep in mind that with the double dots like this actually looks like a smashed equal sign. So how we're going to use the cosmic double dots is what's on the left here will have to equal what's on the right here because this is a smashed equal sign. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. L stands for list. Here is our stock sentence. Ogu loves ice cream. That's an independent clause. Then you have a dot dot, and it says vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate are his favorites. That's a dependent clause. And you'll see that ice cream equals that. It's just like an equal sign. Also, you'll see the consistency between this and abandoned boxcar because that's the same thing as an abandoned boxcar. This is a teeny bit different, even though this is a dependent clause. This is a specific list of stuff, so it's preferential to use a dot dot. 2, description from DQ. A description, we are going to have an independent clause on the front. Ogu is from Gliese 436b. We have a dot dot, and then we have a description of what that is. You see this once again, kids. This, a planet 30 light years away, equals Gliese 436b. You'll see that this is very, very, very similar to what we saw once again up here, which is similar to what again we saw up in the abandoned boxcar independent, comma, dependent. See the similarities between all this stuff? My recommendation is if you see this on test day, there's a dot dot and a comma, choose the dot dot. However, that's fairly unlikely that you will come across that. However, if you do come across something like this, here's a much easier way for you to understand this concept. The role of a comma is to provide additional information to the content of what you just introduced. Remember, it's a dependent clause that's going to define the word that's right before that. And with a cosmic double dots, what it's going to do is it's going to introduce the content that follows. I like colors. Let me introduce you to the colors I like. Red, blue, and green. I like Mr. Chung, comma, a man from Hong Kong. A man from Hong Kong is slowing you down and not giving you anything new. It's defining the word that's right before that. So remember, a comma is going to provide additional information, and a cosmic double dots will introduce what you're talking about in the second part. Finally, D from DQ stands for a quote. It's going to be a direct quote, so you have to have quotation marks around it. A couple things about this. First of all, this is going to be an independent clause, complete sentence on the front end. And then it's going to be a longer quote on the back end. It's got to be at least 5 words or more. All right. If you start off with a dependent clause here, you would simply put a comma there. All right, and that's more likely what you're going to see in regular text writing. For ACT purposes, this is not tested very often. However, I thought I'd throw this in once in a while. You may see it. I asked Mr. Ogu why he came to Earth. That's an independent clause. I love DQ, and we do not have one on our planet. You'll see that that is an independent clause as well that's connected by the dot dot. you'll notice that this is 5 words or more. Let's take a look at some practice problems. Let's apply the cosmic dots to practice problem number 11. In number 11, you see that we have the cosmic double dots here, answer choice B. So first thing we do is let's grab that one. We'll trace in that punctuation, step 1. Step 2 is to now label the components of the sentence. So we come over here, it says during the first few days with cable, that's dependent. Mike has sat in front of his TV, that's independent. And then it says one before he would have been reading a comic book or milling around the apartment. That's the dependent clause. All right. Since we start off with the dependent clause, this is an introductory dependent clause, I kind of just psychologically cross it out in my mind. I'm going to actually cross it out here on the test. So this comes down to independent, dependent. That's exactly what we saw abandoned boxcar style. So we know that when we link two things together, this dependent clause, the definition of a dot dot is I love DQ. L DQ. List, description, or direct quote. So when we're looking at this dependent clause, do you see quotation marks? Nope. Cross that out. Do you see a list of stuff? Nope. Now we have to ask ourselves if this is a description. So that is very, very similar to what we saw in abandoned boxcars. What we see here is that describing what comes right before. What comes right before? Sitting in front of the TV. Well, ask yourself, what do you do when you sit in front of the TV? Watch TV. And here it says, one before he would be reading a comic book. Reading a comic book is not sitting in front of the TV. Milling around the apartment, that is not sitting in front of the TV. Why? Because you're not in front of the TV, you're milling around the apartment. So that would tell us that the cosmic dots is used incorrectly in practice problem number 11. Now, keeping the same logic, let's continue on and get the answer for the question. The next thing that I would do is I already know that we labeled this dependent, and then we labeled the next one independent, and then the third one is dependent. So this introductory statement here can be crossed out. So now we know that we have independent, dependent. If you look over here, we have a period. That would put a period here. That means that that wouldn't work because this needs to be an independent clause. Two sentences or two independent clauses. That one's out. Cosmic dot is out. Answer choice A has a dot, comma. DC bridge. That you learned was two independent clauses that are related. That doesn't work either. Cosmic dots, DC bridge, two sentences. D is the correct answer for practice problem number 11. Look at the logic, kids. You know the rules. Now you have to apply the rules in a logical fashion. Let's take a look at another problem. We'll be working with problem number 28. 28 is considered a combo problem because you've got dot dot, dot comma, and a comma and nothing. So first thing that we do is we grab an answer choice. Let's go ahead and take a look at J. J has got the cosmic double dots. Second thing that we do is we trace in where those cosmic double dots are in the underlined portion. It's after the word line between is. There it is right there. Next thing that we would do is we read the components and then we'd label it the bottom line. That's dependent. Is that there's a great deal more involved in communicating with the canine than just teaching it to come, stay, heel, and fetch. That's dependent clause. All right. Now, even though we're checking answer choice J, which is cosmic double dots, Mr. Ogu said, I love DQ. L, love, stands for list. DQ, description, quote. Even though we're checking this first, you see how right away we're able to ADD out of there and say, hey, two dependent clauses right away. I know that that's wrong because DC bridge, dot comma bridge, tells us that we have to have two independents on both sides. I can cross that out. Answer choice F, you saw here, is just a comma. That violates abandoned boxcars. So right away, H is out after we label it, and F is out after we label it. Now back to cosmic double dots. I love DQ, list, DQ, description, and a quote. When we look at this component over here, and we have our cosmic double dots here, we don't see any quotation marks on this side here, so we can cross that one out. List, okay? So we come down over here, the bottom line is that there's a great deal of communication, blah, blah, blah. The list is way down over here. That feels a little bit weird. Description. Description would mean that what comes here is a description of the bottom line. Is this a description of the bottom line? No, it's just telling you that this is what the bottom line is. It's not a description of describing it. The bottom line is, let me tell you, the bottom line is a line that's at the bottom of a barrel. It's not doing that. So the description is out. Now the list part is a little bit weird. Now look real close here. This is what gives it away for me. We've got two dependent clauses attached together. And remember, our goal is to get to an independent. So you're breaking off those two dependent clauses. Let's look at an example so you can see real clear. I'm going to give you a great usage of the cosmic double dots. Here's a sentence. Put some cosmic double dots here. I love colors. Colors is on the left of the cosmic double dots, and now I say red, blue, and green. Red, blue, and green are right on the right side of the smashed equal sign, which is cosmic double dots, and on the left is colors. You see how this right here gives you a list of stuff that's right on the other side there. I like colors, you'll notice, is an independent clause. This over here is a dependent clause. You see, that goes back to the whole concept of abandoned boxcar, where we have an independent, and whatever comes after the independent is going to slow you down and kind of stop to make sure and clarify that you know what the heck is going on here. Here, we don't need to do that. There's an unusual, weird stop. Punctuation is meant for you to kind of clarify, slow down, regroup, and even kind of catch your breath. If there's no punctuation, you have to read it through all the way from start to finish without taking a breath. Here in this case here, you see that we don't need to take that quick breath, that we don't need to clarify. The correct answer choice is just to continue on G. Another word that's worthy of mentioning is whenever you see these combo problems, there's all kinds of punctuation. You notice that the two problems that we did, both of the answer choices were the choice that had the least amount of punctuation in it. Razor blade. Think simple. If you have the opportunity to use no punctuation and it works, that would be the better answer choice, because mechanics and usage on ACT, the #1 golden rule is razor blade. Simple is best. You don't need to get super fancy. There you have it. It's a quick review for the cosmic double dots, kids. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.